Alright, and we're back on the time loop once again. Gonna take a bit of a break from the whole Monza nonsense. Maybe the Monza sense, if you will. We're at Spa for once, but it's not quite the relaxing kind of spa. This is basically an emulation of the current weather around where I live. If I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of painfully similar to, well, it rained this morning, and it's probably raining right now. It wouldn't surprise me. Just give it a couple more weeks, and the temperature drops below 30 at night, and that rain is going to become snow, because that is how Minnesota works. So today I'm playing as Twin Mill, who is, taking a bit of a break, because... well, not taking a break. He's still driving, still racing. It's just like... he could have been part of the Monza thing, but he started to get all, like, stressed out over the idea of, like, all these drivers being in mortal harm. He's not really used to this sort of thing, even though he was in Velocity X, but... yeah, he wasn't, no, he wasn't. I don't remember, was he? No, I was gonna say, I thought Twin Mill was in the, Velocity War precursor. No, he'd be in the Velocity Wars, not the precursor. I'm right, I think it was what? I don't actually remember who was in what, though. I know one was Metacog, one was Sparky. Oh, I think it was Metacog, Bedlam, Sparky, So Fast. Alex, Byrne, Danny, obviously. Anyway, I just know Twin Mill wasn't there. I think then it was, what? Gearhead, Governor, 16 Angels, Hypermite, Otto, and then... I know Sweet Tooth was Ryan Storm. I don't remember who I had Manslaughter as, though. That might have been... no, that wasn't Burn. That was Spectre. Who was Manslaughter, then? I don't know. Anyway, so also here at this race, if I can navigate correctly. I think this is Shadow. This might be Cerno. This is Grim. Bedlam and Burnout. I see. Change there. Hold on. I'm going to actually look in Messenger. The memos. I have like the memo notepad, keeping track of all of the cars and drivers. I see the blue crossbow starting third, but I don't think that's Bubbles. She'd be the 11, if that's her. That's the 10. Alright, never mind. I can barely see the numbers, so it'd be her teammate's car, not hers. Yeah, it wouldn't make much sense if she were here, because she's actually helping find Nittery, because she's friends with Dexter. Or she's friends with Blossom, Blossom's friends with Dexter, and then Dexter is friends with Nittery. Suddenly crossbow. I'm gonna accelerate you now. Bye-bye. By the way, the Porsche is absolutely the best GT4 car. There is no arguing it. This thing is, like... as far as a complete, well-rounded package, this thing has good stability, good cornering, and good power. And the brakes are pretty good. So everything you'd really need from a race car, nothing else. It's not the best in any category. crossbow's the best handling, the Toyota's the most stable. I think the 2013 Mustang, so like what Burnout has, is the fastest in a straight line, and the best brakes, I think, would go to the Jannetta, if I'm not mistaken. The BMW is useless, by the way. I do believe the BMW is useless. The Aston Martin's like second fastest straight line wise, but like probably third worst in handling, so GT4 class is a lot more even, and the GT3 class isn't too bad either. You can win a GT3 race in just about any car that isn't, well, I mean, if tuned right, you can win in anything, but by like default setups, the way that I do this series, I would not be able to do anything with an Aston Martin or with the SLS AMG. Actually, no, not the SLS AMG. The, both the Mercedes are fine. The SLS is uncontrollable, but, concentrated driving can still win the race. You know, I really can't do much with the Aston Martin or the Nissan GTR. The BMW M6 is touchy, but it still can be done. The Nissan GTR, when I raced as governor once, I had to put the difficulty down to like well below where it should be, and I still didn't win by all that much. It just doesn't have any handling. Power is fine, but handling, it's just a little bit moody, if you will. Like, 1 minute it'll be decent cornering traction, but a little bit like, you know, it wants to go elsewhere and doesn't feel like turning or understeer. And then like the literal next corner, the car can just suddenly be like Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift mode, and then you're in a wall. None of the GT4 cars are like that, though. The BMW is the worst one, but it still, like, turns. It just doesn't turn nearly as well as, well, everything else. But about average or so horsepower kind of makes up for it against cars like the Toyota and the KTM. That was sketchy. So yeah, Twin Mill, based on world race standards, would be pretty much on home turf right now. This is as close as you can get really to a jungle in this game. As you may recall, the Road Beasts concept from World Race, where cars like Twin Mill, Vulture, Ballistic originated from jungle, or like, you know, were supposed to be for the jungle tracks, like Emerald Crater and Vast Jungle. Plus, it rains a lot in those forests and jungles, so with all of that in mind, Twin Mill should be more than equipped to handle some precipitation. No puddles have formed yet. I think that's because the sun's still out. So it's kind of helping to air dry it away before it can do anything. It being the water, and therefore create puddles. There's like tiny little bits of standing water in some of these corners, but none of it's accumulated yet, and that's the most important thing. And then honestly, when there aren't puddles on the track, racing in the rain is not only just as fun, but also just like, really the only difference is that it's slightly slower. Also, we're not going to get many laps in for this race, because laps are nearly verging on 3 minutes. A perfect lap, I think, as it is now, might be a 2:45. So we might see 6 laps, I think. Well, so this race started early, like, rather early in the morning. I do believe it was 10 a.m. in game time at the start of the race. So right now it would be 3:30, quarter to 4 in game. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe it was noon because it's starting to get a little dark, and that would be like, right now it would be quarter to 6. And when it gets dark, that's when this gets a little scary, because then not only do the puddles form easier, you can't really see them either. And for that in mind, this corner scares me, because there's a puddle on this corner, which I wouldn't be surprised if those little gray lines there mark puddles, like, you know, puddles to be anyway. That is not going to be a fun time, because you need all the traction you can get through that corner, and if there's going to be some rain in the way of that, then Lord help us all. I know some, such as Keyblade, who this video is based off of, even though he doesn't watch anymore, it's just become a personal project of mine at this point. Like, I can't really stress how much finding that series and seeing how it all works is, yeah, it's getting pretty dark. Luckily, you always have your headlights on anyway, so I don't have to turn them on myself, because the game turns them on by default if it is raining. The rain's not going to get any worse, I don't think. It's not going away either. But, yeah, the rain itself, as I've already mentioned, isn't the threat. It's the puddles that it leaves behind. With all of the elevation on this track being the way that it is, it's going to be put in some weird-ass places, and some of them aren't going to be very fun. I can almost assure you one of those puddles is going to be on that right-hander back there. And another one's probably going to be in one of these two corners. Okay, we're not turning. But like, I can't quite stress just how much seeing Keyblade's, we call it that arc. I call it that anyway. Even, you know, even after the point where that was no longer the enemy, I still called it that because he was probably one of the major characters. I would often say the main character is either So Fast or Alex. Either So Fast because he was the one that beat that, or Alex because he was the first character to really drive. I was going to say the first character, but technically that'd be Ryan Storm. But as far as the first racer we saw, it was Alex. And he was one that stuck out in pretty much every game. He was there. But So Fast was of course the one that defeated that, and managed to tough it out through all of his mental shortcomings, you know, given the stress of dealing with such a threat, or threats, that matter, when, you know, when it came time that the robot overlord attempt, you know, went into play. Also, it is dark as hell. I know, it's almost like it's, you know, like 9 at night right now. I think. If 10 hours have passed in game, it would be 8 if it started at 10, but if it's noon, then it started at 10. And if it started at noon, then it is now almost 10:30. It is now, actually, now it is 10:30. And it's only going to get darker, up until about, like, you know, 7, 8 minutes to go. But I'm not fazed by the darkness. Call me Simon Belmont. I'll vanquish the darkness, or whatever. Maybe he can help us deal with Amelia, you know? Maybe a little too brutal, I don't know. Yeah, it's like, so seeing how we worked out the series and being one of those that kind of orchestrated a lot of its events at some points, especially in the Velocity X through World Race segment, where I was born and raised on the 4 Hot Wheels PS2 games, and to an extent the 2 GBA, or the 3 GBA ones. I also have beat that for the DS, but anything beyond beat that, I have not played myself, and I would love to play Ultimate Racing, but I don't have a PSP, and emulators don't work because I can't even download WinZip on my computer in the other room. So, otherwise I'd be playing Toho right now. Not this. But, you know, this will do for now. Until I can, you know, get past Windows XP, then I'll just be a filthy console scrub. But yeah, so like just how much doing all of that stuff and then transitioning that into Universe Zero and now to Time Loop, that really not only like opened up the creative airwaves for me. I had been in a pretty massive writer's or thinker's block for just in general for the longest part of my life, but as soon as I had a blank slate to work with, we can see the results of it. Or, you know, blank slates to jointly work with initially, and then now that the series, all of the original videos have been done, foreseeably, it is, for all intents and purposes, my canvas to draw upon. Also, we're halfway through the race. No puddles yet. So, hallelujah in the sanctuary. This is like the darkest it's going to get in the race. Well, good thing track penalties are not on, because I'd definitely be probably DNF'd, or DNQ'd by, or yeah. Did not qualify. I'd probably be disqualified for now. I'd be DQ'd. Not DNQ'd. I just definitely started the race. Yeah, that's basically what it is. Light rain does nothing. Regular rain, understeer, heavy rain, both. Understeer and oversteer. Light rain can theoretically be oversteer too, because if you're in a transitional period where neither slick tires nor wet tires are the definitive yes option, then sometimes it can leave you out there on very awkward, like, tires that are not built for the amount of water, or worse yet, be on wet tires because the rain fooled you and then it's not actually all that wet, so your tires are basically like literal Hot Wheels. Also, I heard that puddle there, but since I was doing 30, it didn't really do anything. That is one thing I did to the car setup, just in case. The puddles did start coming en masse. Raising the ride height. Most people don't seem to realize this, at least in my racing league, and hopefully they never do. The higher the ride height, the less likely it is that your body panels are going to drag through the puddle. Therefore, less likely the car is just going to, like, you know, Mario Kart banana peel its way all the way to the next county line from hitting a puddle at, like, 35 miles an hour, like I just did. Listen to all that water. I'm trying to take a corner like this so you can get a good idea of what the spray is like. Barely even hear the car. It's like, this is how my dad normally plays video games. I don't know how he does it. I really don't know how people do that either. But, at least in this game. In GT Sport, the view is a lot clearer. And I can do hood and roof cams, I just can't do bumper. Like, I can do this one. Not this one. Absolutely not this one. Oh my god, get me out of here. Yeah, so this roof cam I'm perfectly fine with. It still gives me enough of an idea of where exactly I'm putting my car. I'm too busy screwing around. I'm apparently trying to throw away the race. Camille's trying to do this to release stress. He's just trying to drive on his own, free of the burdens of, you know, the mortal coil that could easily be lifted with a couple of mistakes around here. This track especially, as has been proven in the past, since found a puddle. I'm just gonna reset. Alright, yeah, I was right too. I said there'd be one in one of those two corners, did I not? Alright, so back to my normal view. That's I just accidentally shifted, because R1 is the change view button on a different game. But not this one. Oh, look at that. So it's the first real puddle, since this one up here isn't too much of a threat hitting it at 35 miles an hour. But you can definitely hear I'm kicking up water. It's one of those things too, just like when you hit a puddle and the game decides to basically like drag and drop your car somewhere else when you hit them, there isn't a single thing you can do, because recovering the car in this game, its physics engine just won't allow you to do that. Please just no puddles, no rouge. Not on the line that I take anyway, so that's good enough for me. If the corner is any kind of embankment or is on a hill awkwardly, that's like the biggest sign that there's going to be a puddle there. So that corner, I guarantee you, if it were raining heavier, would have a puddle by now. This one would probably not, actually. Just the way that the hill has set itself up, the water wouldn't be able to stand, it would just slide down. I don't really know about that one, but the next corner, I'm pretty sure, could easily have some rain, or some puddles formed. Especially on the outside of the track. You can see just how wet it is out there. My headlights reflecting off of the, basically, lake out there. This corner is a concern for them, as the daylight's starting to come back, as it would be close to about, like, 19 hours have passed, so it would be like 5 a.m. Or 7. I don't remember when I started the race, but I'm pretty sure I did start it at noon now, because it wouldn't be this light at 5 a.m. I did not hit the puddle this time, but I probably missed it by, like, mere millimeters. Yeah, so one example of character development here. Back to the whole blank canvas, clean slate, whatever analogy. I have devised, yeah, Twin Mill getting some character development. There wasn't much to him before, other than being like the one that just does his job. He doesn't always do his job if there's a lot of pressure or a lot of mental stress. He's apparently deeply sympathetic, just has a hard time showing it. Except for right about now, where he's, you know, been told of the third driver in a matter of, you know, not a very long amount of time that is either potentially just straight up dead or is in severe risk of being dead. And he is, you know, losing his mind. It's definitely not an unusual thing. You know, the loss of somebody that you know is definitely something that can put a strain on your psyche. That's not exactly unheard of by any means, so Camille is definitely understood in this concept, but it's like most of, if not almost all of the other drivers, at least of the Hot Wheels variety, really haven't batted an eyelash. I mean, of course we have the whole The Powerpuff Girls are mournful because their creator slash father slash, Professor Utonium was slain, and that definitely will put a strain on them emotionally, especially someone like Bubbles, who is, if she's sensitive to, the Hall light not being left on, or to seeing cockroaches, or to having her, her stick of chalk broken on her, then I'm pretty sure that her father being killed is probably not going to be a great experience, to say the least. I don't know how else to word that. Let's see who else can be a bit of an emotional wreck. Really nobody. As far as like emotionally unstable, there's no one else. There are other emotional characters, or other characters that just have, outstanding emotions. Midori would be a prime example of that. Normally she's shy and tries to avoid any kind of contact with other people, if she can. And the fact that she's even showing up to these races is a little out of character. As much as it is an event of mechanical genius, being able to make these kind of cars and set them up and race them and, create the best racing car of the group, which Midori has shown that she is absolutely able to do that, and is in fact the reason why they even learned what the Renault RS01 is in the first place when they first saw it, they being the Toho characters. Because of her inferential thinking and mechanical knowledge, she realized, oh hey, this is a mechanical thing that basically works like a boat on land. And then apparently from there, just immediately picked up on how it works. And thus was able to improve it to the point where it became a threat to the main antagonism of this whole event, and even baited them out of their hiding for a moment, even if for only a moment. So what took the original Hot Wheels guys about several months to do, anything from the course of Suntrack Challenge all the way up to World Race, which is lure out their enemy, Midori did in a matter of hours. Not hours, like a matter of days. I didn't want second gear. Of course, it was much to her own downfall that she managed to do so, but if and when she gets out of this, she might receive some praise for that. Because it definitely shortened the waiting list. Also, we're on the final lap, and I've been paying no attention to the timer whatsoever. I've just been driving, like, absent-mindedly. Yeah, so now we know that while silent, Twinmail does have wear his heart on his sleeve when it comes to stress or emotional pressure and emotional tension as a whole. And imagine if somebody did actually die. Nobody actually knows Metacog died. That's the thing. Until someone ends up at Daytona and sees his wrecked car and bits and pieces scattered every place, all over the place, no one really knows that he disappeared yet. But if, if like, say, anyone that Twinmail knew for any good length of time, like So Fast, Reese Lightning, Alex, Ryan Storm, etc., did die in all of this, we don't really know what that could do to him, like, emotionally. But we do know what he is going to do right now, and that is win this race at Spa pretty dominantly. Like, holy cow, Twinmail. Emotional wreck or not, you can drive like crazy. I think we all knew that, but in case you didn't, here's a demonstration. Screw it. I'm gonna try this corner in cockpit view because I want to crash. You know, I survived. I didn't do it very fast, but I survived. I can do the whole cooldown map like this. I can drive in GT Sport in cockpit cam. Why is this game so different? I actually know why it's so different. Because the driving in this game is much more sensitive. It's not quite on levels of Assetto Corsa, but compared to GT Sport, this game is not quite as optimized for controller users. As you can see, that's why you don't want second gear. But did the game listen? No. You can see I can drive in cockpit, but I'm just going a lot slower because I'm mentally crapping myself right about now. As soon as I took that low line, all my immediate thoughts were, oh no, there's a puddle, I'm going to die. But I didn't die. Miraculously. And enter probably one of the worst, I didn't want first, one of the worst pit lanes ever created. This road is so thin for no real reason. The heck is that for? Crap, wrong. Alright, well, whatever. So yeah, pretty definitive 39 seconds. And I had a big mistake too, so if that hadn't happened, who knows how much the gap could have been. I could have won by like 50 seconds if I didn't catch that stupid puddle. Yeah, so as for our drivers, Bedlam did quite well. He started like 15th and he ended up in 10th. Grim also made his way up pretty well. But, Cerno didn't do so hot. Nor did the other Toyota. I suppose, if that is Cerno in that car, if it's the 112, not the 111, well, that was weird. Yep, that's Cerno. Well, I imagine that the ice fairy isn't really enjoying the water right now, so she would probably just like to get out of here. Apparently she has no ties towards Midori though, which, I mean, it also makes sense for the same reasons that I just explained why she's not liking the rain right now. Water melts ice if there's enough of it, so